Hey everyone. I have had such a bad day with technology today and everything has just went wrong. But I really want to deliver what I promised to you guys. So I am going to try again. This time I am going to be on YouTube live and then I guess I'll put the link if this works over on my website and on Facebook so everyone can see it at a later time. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to interact with you like I would love to, and I'm really going to have to figure out how am I going to do my giveaway. So that's something I'm going to think about afterwards, but I'm going to just do the presentation. Someone also emailed me and said the chat wasn't working, like nothing was working. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if well, the weather's bad right now in New York. So I'm wondering if it's affecting my internet or what. And I don't want to just not do this. And I want to give you guys the information that I promised. So I'm going to just make this a video where I teach. And then hopefully I'll find a way that we can interact. Maybe I'll do a Facebook Live where it's not like a teaching class. It's really just us discussing, or you can come with your questions. I think that's a good idea. So maybe that's what I'm going to do. So for right now, I am going to share my screen with you and just go ahead and get started with the presentation that I originally planned. So hopefully, guys, this time around, it will work. Okay. All right. So let me try again. Today, we're going to talk about 4 strategies to save $1,000 or more in 30 days. Now, I know how hard it can be to grow your savings, so I'm hoping to help you with that. So let's get started because I do have a lot of material to cover and I don't want to waste any more time with anything else. I just want to get the information to you. All right. So I want you to stick around to the end because there is going to be a lot of great information that will be very useful to you. But before we start, I would like for you to close all your tabs and turn off anything in the background that can be distracting, like email. Go ahead and grab your pen and paper because I am going to give you a lot of information. I'm not going to hold back anything. So you may want to take notes, and please also silence your phone so you can get ready to learn these exact strategies that I use. Today, you're going to learn how to stop living paycheck to paycheck, change your money mindset, make a savings plan, reduce your expenses, increase your income, invest your money, and track your progress. But if we've never met before, I want to introduce myself to you. Hi, my name is Dafina, and I went from having 6 figures worth of debt to becoming financially free last year at the age of 33. When my family and friends saw how successful I was on my financial journey, they came to me and asked for help. And I saw the difference I was making in their lives, so I decided to start my personal finance blog, Dollars Plus Cents. I started Dollars Plus Cents because I wanted to reach more people outside of my immediate circle. I'm passionate about helping people attain financial stability and financial freedom because I know how stressful it can be to struggle with money. I've been there. However, during my financial journey, I was able to save $300,000 in 4 years. Even though I am financially free, I still save aggressively because I have not yet achieved everything I want to achieve, which is financial abundance. All right. But today I'm going to help you find ways to save more money and meet your financial goal. Now, this is not going to be one of those webinars where I try to sell you something at the end. I'm actually a really horrible salesperson. So that's why I like being a lawyer. I don't have to sell my services. People just come to me for help. So if I mention something, it's because I really use it and I want to show you exactly what I do. Now, you can choose to use what I use or make a system similar for yourself. That's no problem. But I just want you to sit back and learn. I'm not going to hold back any secrets, and I'm going to share all the tools I'm currently using. So now that you know about me, I have a question for you. What is your biggest challenge with saving money? I want you to go ahead and write down the answer to that question on the piece of paper that you prepared for this class, and write down the answer. Saving money is so important because it helps you prepare for any financial emergencies. If something comes up, you don't need to stress about how you're going to pay your bills. It also allows you to have more financial freedom by having your money work for you instead of you working for money. Even if you like your job and have no desire to quit, I think it's still important to have financial freedom because something can happen to you or your job. It's also important to save money so you can retire one day. I know as millennials, we don't think too much about retirement because, we're still young. But God willing, we will get old one day and can no longer work. So it's important for you to be saving today while you're still young and able for retirement. Finally, saving money is so important because it allows you to live a happier life by giving you more options and control of your financial future. What I mean is, you don't have to do anything only for the money. If money is not an issue, you have the freedom to only accept jobs that make you happy. And if a situation is no longer making you happy, you can leave whenever you want. For example, I have a cousin that's also financially free, and she only works because it's fun. The second her job isn't fun anymore, she's free to leave because money isn't an issue. Most of us are stuck in situations we don't enjoy because we need the money. So in today's webinar, I'm going to show you how you can save more money and live a more stress-free life. I'm going to share some of my money saving strategies that has worked so well for me. By the end of this webinar, you're going to learn how you can save $1,000 or more in 30 days. Just so you know that I know what I'm talking about, last year I saved over $71,000. And although I'm financially free, I still continue to save aggressively because I understand the importance of saving money. Like I said before, my ultimate goal is to move from being financially free to having financial abundance. And financial abundance is basically where you can live your dream life without having to work for money. And since I'm not there yet, I'm still a work in progress myself. Now, the first thing you need to do before you start your financial journey is what I like to call get your mind right. What I mean by that is you need to change your money mindset from negative to positive. Here's the system I currently use. I made myself this worksheet that's in my personal finance binder to help me understand my money mindset. I felt it was important for me to write down my feelings to get a better understanding of my relationship with money and to make a financial plan moving forward. I thought it would be great to just have everything on one sheet of paper and to just basically, in a way, just write out all of my feelings and make a plan. So, how do you know what your money mindset is? When you think about your financial situation, how do you feel? What words come to mind? I want you to take a second and write it down, or, I was going to say, or tell me, but you can't tell me. There's no chat. Well, then just write it down on the piece of paper that you have so that you can reflect for yourself. Do words like stressed, overwhelmed, or scared come to mind? If so, then you have a negative money mindset. But if words like satisfied, blessed, happy, comfortable, or content come to mind, then you have a positive money mindset. So based on those words that came to your mind, is your money mindset a negative or a positive one? Go ahead and write that down on your piece of paper. If you have a negative money mindset, you need to work towards having a positive mindset. Having a positive money mindset is so important to be successful because you will look at money from a place of abundance. When you look at money from a place of abundance, then you already feel like you have more than enough. You're already grateful for what you have, even if you don't have everything on your wish list. So I want you to write down at least 3 things you're grateful for right now on your piece of paper. I want you to know there's an abundance of money, but you just have to think about how you're going to get it. My favorite takeaway from the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is Poor Dad would say, I can't afford it. And Rich Dad would say, how can I afford it? Rich Dad looked at money from a place of abundance and had a positive money mindset. And I want to note that in this part of the book, Rich Dad wasn't rich yet and Poor Dad wasn't yet poor. But Rich Dad became rich by looking for solutions to his problems rather than looking at all the obstacles. So I want you to do the same thing when you're taking your financial journey. I want you to ask yourself, how can I afford it? Okay, once you start looking at money from a place of gratitude, I want you to figure out, what is your why? What's going to motivate you to keep pushing through when things get hard? You have to want it bad enough. My why was financial freedom. I wanted it so bad. I was sick and tired of being tied to my job and not being able to spend time with my family. Since I'm self-employed, when I don't work, I don't get paid. And my clients don't care that I want to take a vacation, right? They want their cases done. So it was hard for me to miss cases. But now that I'm financially free, my why has become financial abundance. I want to be able to live a luxurious life without having to think about the price of things. So I want you to write down your why on your piece of paper. And anytime you feel the urge to fall off track, I want you to pull out this piece of paper to remember what you're doing this for. Okay, now that we have our minds right, let's dive into some strategies to help you save $1,000 or more so we can reach our financial goals. First, you're going to make a savings plan. Then you're going to reduce your expenses. Next, you will increase your income. And last, invest your money. So the first thing you need to do is make a savings plan. Now, at the bare minimum, we want to save $1,000 a month. That breaks down to about $250 a week or $500 every pay period if you get paid biweekly. I think the easiest way to save money is to hold on to the money you already have. So the first thing you need to do to come up with this money is make a budget. It's so important to have a budget because you need to see where your money is going. If you know where your money is going, you can see easier what areas you can possibly cut back on your spending. Now, I have a whole system I use for budgeting that I will go over very briefly for you. I'm going to break down step by step what you should do if you're just getting started and want to make a budget that works. First, I would start by calculating my net income. And your net income just means your take-home pay after taxes. If you have earned income from an employer where taxes are automatically deducted, this is easy to establish. However, if you have other types of income, such as self-employment or other outside sources of income, this is a little bit more difficult to figure out. So if you have a regular income, this is how you determine your take-home pay. If you have a record of your income for the past 12 months, you can take the average of all your monthly income for the past 12 months. Or if you like to be conservative, you can use the number from the month you earned your lowest income. If you don't have a long enough income history, use the income you made from the previous month to determine your take-home pay for this month. So here's a system that I use. Since I myself have a regular income, I use my income tracker from my personal finance binder. So I have a good idea of how much I earned. Whatever method you use, however, be sure to subtract obligations like your taxes and business expenses to determine your take-home pay. Next, you need to know what your monthly expenses are. It's not good enough to put what you think you spend every month. I need you to know. So to do that, you need to pull up the last 3 months of your bank and credit card statements. Now, this step will take some time, but it's important not to skip this step because it is the foundation of making a budget that works. So I have a list of over 80 budget categories in my free resource library. And I believe I will share that link with you later. And I will also leave the link in the comments so you can easily access it. Now, this list is to make sure you don't forget any expenses. And I don't want you to feel overwhelmed by this list because not everything will apply to you. Just check off the things that do apply to you and then add them to your budget. When making your list, don't worry about how much you actually spend. Your goal is to just list the things you spend money on. List as many things as you can think of. When you have your list ready and you listed everything you could think of, start figuring out how much you actually spent on each item on your list. Some things you will know exactly how much you spent because it's a fixed expense. A fixed expense means it costs the same every month, like your rent, your cable, internet, or your student loans. But figuring out variable expenses will be a little more difficult. A variable expense just means the expense varies or costs a different amount every month. Some example some examples of variable expenses are electricity, grocery bills, or your gas. So to determine what you spend on your variable expenses, look at old credit card statements from the last 3 months. And then I want you to take an average of what you spent over the last 3 months. This will help you see what you normally spend on things in a particular expense category. If there's anything on your list that you're still not sure how much you spend, go ahead and take an educated guess. Once you figure out how much you make and what you actually spend, look to see if the end result shows more income than expenses. If your expense column is more than your take home pay, now you need to figure out what areas you can cut back on your spending. To make sure you create a budget that actually works, you have to include expenses that happen once in a while. Now, this includes things like your car insurance, property taxes, birthdays, and Christmas. So here's what I do. I like to list all my upcoming expenses on this worksheet that I have in my personal finance binder, so I can plan for those one-off expenses and include it in my budget. Okay, whew. At this point, you have done all the hard work and you just need to plug the numbers into your budget. Now, I use two strategies when it comes to my monthly budget. I have a monthly budget worksheet, which is something that, on paper that I write down my stuff. And I also use an Excel template. Now, I love my Excel template, but I also love putting pen to paper. And you don't have to do this, but I just wanted to show you exactly what I do. You can pick one or the other, or you can do both like I do. But I do want to show you why there's certain things that I like about one and versus the other, why I decided to use both. So here's a picture of my monthly budget worksheet that I keep in my personal finance binder. This is a blank copy, so I can write down the budget categories that are particular to me, but you can get a free version of this in my personal, sorry, not my personal, in my free resource library. It will be filled in with the most popular budget categories that I think applies to most people. But if you want a blank version of this, you can get it in my personal finance binder. And here's a picture of my monthly budget template, my Excel template. And I love the charts and calculators you can create with an Excel template. So this is why I also use Excel as a way to budget. But I do love using worksheets in my binder as well because it helps me stay organized since I have all my financial documents in the same place. So, it makes it easier to see everything right there where I can't really see everything on an Excel template. And here's my yearly budget template. And these two templates, my monthly template and my yearly template, is what I used to save the $300,000 in 4 years. And it's still what I use today. So if you want to check those out, you can find those in my shop. But one thing I want to mention before we move on is making a budget isn't easy, guys. It will take some time and it will take trial and error. So you're going to have to consistently tweak and, rework your budget as your situation changes, or until you find a method that works for you. It took me 3 tries until I found a budgeting system that works for me, which is my budget templates in conjunction with my personal finance binder. Now, the hardest thing I found about having a budget is actually sticking to it. So I'm going to share to you what I use or what I do when I find that I'm having a hard time or I'm overspending. I use the cash envelope method to help me control my spending. The cash envelope method is a budgeting system where you use cash for the different expenses you have each month. The cash envelope method is intended for variable expenses that fluctuate. Therefore, you don't need to use the cash envelope system for your fixed expenses, like let's say your rent, because you know what that's going to be every month, and it's pretty hard to overspend in that category. So what you do is you take a few envelopes and label each one with a specific expense category, such as housing. Now, let me know when I say housing, I mean like things that expenses that fluctuate, maybe like maintenance or, things that aren't the same every month. You could label for your transportation, utilities, food, etc. Then fill each envelope with the amount of cash needed for each expense category. For this method to work, though, you can only use the money in the envelope for purchases in their proper category. Once the money in that envelope is done, you have to stop spending. That's it. No more spending in that category. And you can download these free cash envelope templates in my resource library. And like I said, don't worry, I'll put the link for you so that you can see where to go to get this. And I've provided two styles of envelopes for you, horizontal and vertical. You can use the style that works best for you. And I recommend printing out your cash envelopes on cardstock paper so it's more durable, but regular paper will work too. I also provided two cash envelope inserts so you can easily keep track of your spending on the go. So just cut out the spending ledger and insert it in your cash envelopes. Then write down your transactions as you spend. And here's a picture of my cash envelopes that I printed on cardstock. And I also like to keep it in my financial binder when I'm not using that particular envelope. And here's also a system that I currently use, which is my cash envelope overview worksheet in my personal finance binder to help me stay organized and prepare for my visits to the bank. It makes it very easy for me to plan out my bill breakdowns before I go to the bank, so it can make it really easy once I get there. It also makes it easy to see in one place how I did with my cash spending for the month. Once you have your budget set up, you want to start thinking of ways to reduce your expenses. The first place I would recommend you looking to cut back is your housing expenses. I recommend cutting back on this expense first because for most of us, our housing is our most expensive expense. This is the area you can make the biggest impact and recapture the most dollars. So here's a chart of what financial experts recommend you spend in these general expense categories. And as you can see, housing takes up 25 to 30% of someone's budget. And of course, it's the biggest area, whereas all the other areas vary from 5 to 15%, nowhere near what housing is. So for example, if you take home $3,000 a month and 30% of that money goes to housing, that's $900. If you can reduce your housing expenses to 25%, now that's just 5%, then your housing expenses will be about $750. So right there, you have a savings of $150 a month. You would have to cut your food budget in half just to have the same amount of savings. And that, trust me, is much harder to do. So I want you to ask yourself, what do you think are the 3 budget categories you spend the most? Go ahead and write that down on your piece of paper that you have. And after you make your budget, I want you to go back and verify your answer. It should be easy for you to answer this question because you can just refer to the budget you already made. Now, keep in mind, I'm not saying you should not focus on the smaller categories at all. I'm just saying to focus on your biggest expenses first. Now, if you want to learn more, I have plenty of articles you can check out on my blog to get some ideas of how to reduce your expenses. So again, I'm not going to go into details here. You can find these articles by going to my blog's homepage, which is dollarspluscents.com. Then hover over blog and then hover over money management and click on cutting expenses. And this is what it will look like when you click on cutting expenses and scroll down to the bottom. You can check out all those articles later. But hopefully at this point, you would be able to cut back enough on your expenses where you can save at least $250 a week. But let's say you made your budget and you absolutely can't find anywhere you can cut back to save an extra $250 every week. If that's the case, you really need to find a way to increase your income. If your income is low, there's only so much you can cut back before you start to feel like you're depriving yourself of too much. So here are 5 ways to increase your income. Number 1, you can make more money in your current job. Number 2, you could get a higher paying job. Number 3, you can find a part-time job. Number 4, you can start a part-time business or side hustle. Or number 5, you can establish passive income. So to make more money in your current job, you can either ask for a raise or increase your work hours. Now, if you're going to ask for a raise, remember, you cannot ask for a raise because you feel like you're entitled to one, okay? When asking for a raise, you have to be bringing additional value to your company or your boss. Maybe the additional value you bring is taking on more tasks or responsibilities or performing higher job performance. But you need to understand that your income is determined by the value you bring. Also, in some jobs, you can increase your work hours and get paid overtime or time and a half, which means 1.5 times your hourly rate. Now, of course, this technique doesn't work if you're a salaried employee and get paid the same amount of money no matter how many hours you work. So if you feel like your current employer is not paying you a fair salary for your work, consider getting a higher paying job with another company. But before deciding to take the big leap, make sure you do your research first to see if you're actually being paid unfairly. Figure out what the median salary is for the field you're in or the job you do. A good place to start your research is at places such as glassdoor.com and payscale.com. Keep in mind other things besides your title that may be a factor in your salary, such as experience, location, and etc. So, for example, someone with the same job title as you in New York might make more than you do if you live in a lower cost of living city. So, I don't want you to think like that you're not being paid fairly just because your salary is less than them. Like, you need to take all these things into consideration. The last thing you want to do is find out that you're actually being paid right in line with your industry standards, but you actually think you're underpaid. Now, if you're actually being paid fairly, but there's not much room to grow with your job, I recommend you move to a company that may offer more room for advancement. Some examples of finding a part-time job are Uber, bartending, tutoring, retail, customer service representative, etc. So these are some ideas where you can do as a part-time job. Now, another option is you can start a part-time business or a side hustle. And I personally like side hustles more than a part-time job because you're the boss and therefore you're offered more flexibility. In addition, there's more room for income growth. The only downside, though, to a part-time business is your income is not as stable or predictable as it would be if you had a part-time job. So when deciding what kind of part-time business to start, I want you to ask yourself, what are my talents and skills? Figure out what kind of things you like to do. Is there a way to turn your hobbies into additional income? Next, you can also establish passive income as a way to earn more money. Now, in short, passive income is money you can make in your sleep. And of course, this is my favorite way to earn money. It is money that comes from a source other than an employer. And the source is usually from real estate or business you're not actively involved in. So I want you to think, ask yourself, is this a good option for you? If so, go ahead and write down some ways you think you can earn some passive income. And here are some ideas that I will give you. There's so many ways you can establish passive income, such as lending money, creating a product, or investing, which brings me to my last point. Once you have reduced your expenses and or increased your income so that you can save at least $250 a week, you can't stop there. You need to invest your money. Now, like I said, I don't want you to just save your money. You need to invest your money so that you can really grow wealth. Your money will erode if you only keep it in a savings account because banks aren't paying high enough interest rates to compete with inflation. The average inflation rate is 3%. And most banks are paying less than that in interest. So this is why it is so important to actually invest your money. There are so many ways you can invest your money, such as investing in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, or real estate. Now, when deciding what is the best method for you to invest, I want you to consider things such as your personal situation, like your age or your tolerance to risk, your time frame, which is how long you want to invest for, the tax consequences, the fees, and I also want you to consider an appropriate mix of investments. It's very important to diversify. So let's talk about your personal situation, such as your age or your tolerance to risk. How you divide your money amongst investments should depend on your personal situation and financial goals. So, for example, the younger you are, the more you should focus on long-term investments because money is on your side, not money, because time is on your side. The younger you are, the more money you can devote to ownership investments such as stocks and real estate that will yield you a higher return. In other words, because ownership investments such as stocks are riskier and more volatile investments, you should plan to hold them for a long term when you're investing in them. Another thing to consider is your time frame. How long do you want to invest for? Your investment needs to match your time frame. For example, if you expect to need your money within a year, you don't want to invest in risky things like stocks. You want to invest in safe investments such as CDs or money market accounts. If you expect you won't need your money for 10 years or more now you can invest in more risky investments such as stocks and real estate. I also want you to consider the tax consequences. It is so important to do your research before you invest and pay attention to the tax consequences. I want you to take advantage of tax deductible retirement accounts such as 401ks or Roth IRAs or anything similar to that in your field. And I want you to understand the impact you will have if you decide to invest outside of any tax sheltered retirement accounts. Next, I want you to look at the fees. This is so important, and I think people always overlook this. Try to minimize your investment fees because the more you pay in commissions and management fees on your investments, the less return you'll have, the less money you'll have for yourself. Also, it's the longer it would take for you to meet your financial goals. So once you decided what investment vehicles you would like to invest in, the next thing to consider is how you want to allocate your assets. In other words, you want to figure out how much of your money you want to put towards things such as stocks, bonds, REITs, etc. Now, I recommend investing in multiple investment vehicles to diversify your portfolio. And a portfolio is the collection of all your investments. And for me personally, I invest in all kind of things. Like I invest in stocks, bonds, REITs, real estate, like all of that. But my two favorite ways to invest are through buying stocks and real estate. So I just want to mention a great investment tool that I use and love called Robinhood. I use this tool to purchase individual stocks. And I like this website and app because you can buy and sell stocks for free. There are no commissions or fees. And most other brokerage firms charge at least $4.95 per trade. And what I mean is, when you buy a stock, that's $4.95. When you sell a stock, that's $4.95. And some even have hidden fees. So I want you to go ahead and sign up with Robinhood today with my link. go ahead and write down this link on your piece of paper, because if you sign up through my link, you and I can get a free stock like Apple, Ford, or Sprint. And with Robinhood, you also don't need a minimum account balance, so you can get started right away. I'm also going to try to remember to put that link in the chat. So let me go ahead and make a note of that. But when you go to my link, it will look something like this. And you can click the sign up button in the top right hand corner that you can see right here. And I would only use this platform, though, if you're a little more knowledgeable about investing in the stock market, meaning you know what stocks you want. You just need a platform to invest for free. And I mean, of course, you can also sign up with Robinhood without clicking on my link and just going straight to their site, but you won't get the benefit of that free stock. So I recommend just going through my link so that we both can get a free stock. Now, if you're new to picking stocks and you want to invest in individual companies, I recommend you go with companies you're familiar with. It's the strategy that investing legend Warren Buffett lives by. So stick to what you know. And that's exactly what I do as well. So look at the products you use and consume every day. Then research those companies so you can determine if it's a good company to invest in. When doing research, ask yourself the following questions. How does the company make money? A good rule of thumb from Warren Buffett is invest in common sense companies that you understand. If you can't tell me how a company makes money, then don't invest in it. Plain and simple. Another thing to ask is, has the company been making money consistently over the past few years? The answer to this should be yes. Does the company have a competitive advantage? Now, a competitive advantage can be many things, such as price, like Walmart, or a good reputation, maybe like IBM or something like that, or good branding, like Apple. But in general, the answer to this question should be yes. How good is the management team? A company is only as good as its leader. So, what is their industry experience? Are their salaries tied directly to the company's performance? If the answer is yes, they will most likely want to see the company perform well. And I want you to also ask, will this company be around in 20 years? Are there any new technology or competitors that can take over the company's product or service? Now, if after all of that, you're still not comfortable picking your own stocks, then I recommend you buy low cost mutual funds or ETFs with a robo advisor. And a robo advisor is an online automated advisor. They will invest your money for you based on the specific goals you have using computer algorithms. And I'm also using a robo advisor. Currently, I'm using Charles Schwab Intelligent Portfolios because their fees are pretty low, but there are fees. It's not like Robinhood where there are no fees. But to be honest, I do better picking my own stock. So most of my money is with Robinhood. So let me show you these two charts. This is my Charles Schwab Intelligent Portfolio. And just so you know, this is a very conservative and safe portfolio. It's made up of about 45% stocks, 42% bonds, and about 12 to 13% cash. So I don't expect it to do as well as my Robinhood account, which is more risky and all stocks. But here you can see my investment is up 6.58% as of April 15, 2019. And this is my Robinhood account. Like I said before, the investment is more risky than Charles Schwab because the account balance is all stocks. And since I'm relatively young and plan to be in the market for the long run, I think I have time on my side. Therefore, I don't mind taking on more risk. And here you'll see my investment is up almost 17% as of April 16, 2019. So this is why I prefer putting my money in my Robinhood account over my robo advisor with Charles Schwab. And since I like to pick my own stocks, like I told you guys before, most of the time I like to use my stock investment tracker worksheet. So this is a system that I currently use in my personal finance binder, just to make sure that I'm keeping an eye on my stock performance. And it's really important to keep an eye on your stock performance. And also, I personally like to keep an eye on my dividend payouts for two reasons. And just to go back, I show you this worksheet here at the bottom. You can see that I also have an area for my dividends. Not all stocks pay dividends, of course, but for the ones that do pay dividends, I have that little worksheet area on the bottom so that I can compare. Now, here are the two reasons why I like to keep track of my dividend payouts. One, so I can see how much passive income I have from my dividends every month. And this is really important if you're trying to have other sources of income and want to establish financial freedom, right? You want to have a good idea of how much you're getting paid in dividends every month. And also, number two, so I can monitor any big changes in dividend payouts. If a company drastically decreases their dividend payouts, that's usually a sign of financial trouble. And I definitely think it's something to pay attention to when determining if you should continue to invest in that company. So if you're interested in learning more about investing and you're like, oh, what is a mutual fund or what is an ETF? Or you want to know more about robo-advisors, I have plenty of articles on my blog that you can read for more details. So you just go to my blog, dollarspluscents.com, and then hover over blog and then click on investing, or you can hover over investing and find articles on the specific type of investing you want to do. For example, if you want to learn specifically about real estate, or if you want to learn specifically about retirement or the stock market. Now that you have your saving strategy in place, here is my secret to saving the most money. Are you ready? It is automatic savings, people. I want you to set up automatic savings. I don't know what it is about automatic savings, but I always find a way to save every month, even if I have a bad month at work. I don't know if it's because I take the money out of my account before I can spend it or what, but it works. I promise you. I personally automatically transfer money to my Robinhood account to invest, and I also transfer money to my regular savings account. So I suggest you do the same thing. And here's a system that I currently use. I use my automatic savings tracker to help me stay organized and keep track of all my automatic savings. And I use this worksheet in my personal finance binder to make sure I have enough money in my various accounts for when my savings will be automatically transferred. So if you look at this worksheet, it allows me to know exactly when my automatic savings is scheduled to be transferred, what account my savings is coming from, what account my savings is going to, how much I will be automatically saving, and then the total I have saved so far under the balance column. I recommend automatically transferring money directly to your savings as soon as you're paid. This way, you won't get a chance to spend it before you save. Finally, you need to track your progress. Now, I love using things like savings trackers as a nice way to visualize my progress. What I do is I color in each bar as I get closer to my savings goal, and I love seeing the progress because it motivates me to keep going. So here's an example of a savings tracker I used last year in my dot journal. And as you can see, like, I love it. I actually use this method. And I think tracking is so important. So I designed something similar for you that you can get for free in my resource library. I have a savings tracker and I also have a debt tracker for you to download. And there you go. That is the link to my resource library, dollarspluscents.com/resource library. Now, if you don't already know the password, you can sign up to get it. And if you're already subscribed to my newsletter from my blog, you can check your email that I sent. I usually try to include the password at the bottom of all of my emails. So check that out. If for some reason you don't see it, then just go ahead and sign up through the link to get the password. Whew. Okay. So we covered a lot of great strategies to save more money. So to recap, you learned how to change your money mindset, make a savings plan, reduce your expenses, increase your income, invest your money, and track your progress. And so you may wonder why I'm so passionate about teaching money management and financial freedom. It's because I feel like everyone deserves to be this happy in life. Look how happy he looks being in that swing. I think we all deserve to be happy. Like we're not here to just work and pay bills and die. All right. We need to enjoy life. And I think once you can get your money and your finances under control, life is so much easier and stress free. So this is really about you being able to build the life you dreamed of and not be stressed about money. I want you to have your money work for you instead of working for money. So you can do the things that make you happy in life. It's so important to have control of your financial future so you're not a slave to your job for the rest of your life. Okay, so don't you feel so much more excited about saving money now? I think I gave you guys enough tools to make sure this happens this year. So go ahead and check out my free resource library where there's a ton of tools for you to get started. But if you want to use all the methods and tools that I use, you can check out my personal finance binder at this web address, dollarspluscents.com. Personal finance binder landing page. Now, my personal finance binder has over 55 pages worth of printables that I just didn't have time to show you today during this workshop. So I want you to go ahead and go to this link so that you can learn more about what exactly is in my personal finance binder. And here's a picture of what my actual binder looks like. This is what I actually use. This is what it looks like. Here's another picture here. And if you want my Excel budget templates, you can get them by going to my shop, dollarspluscents.com/shop. And there you'll get a monthly and a yearly budget template. And I think I will also provide the link for you in the comments or the description, I guess. Okay. Thank you all so much for listening. Normally, I would take questions from everyone, but unfortunately, technology wasn't working for me today. So if you have any questions, just feel free to maybe send me an email. My email is Dafina, DAFINA, at dollarspluscents.com. And you can, send me any questions you have, or you can contact me on Facebook or Instagram, like message me. That's no problem. All right. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to listen. And I will try to figure out how I'm going to do this giveaway. And I'll let you guys know. All right. Thank you so much. And I will talk to you next time.